All right, so week 4 in CIT15. A couple things I want to go over just to, the more information we all have, the better off we are. You guys started the HTML elements and structures this week, and they had changed this since the last time I did the step-by-step, and somebody posted a question out in Hangout chat, which, by the way, great, thank you for doing that the steps didn't seem to match, and they were right, they didn't. And actually I can take this off because, oh, and that's actually the other thing, is this video is a little bit older and it is of a couple of versions back. So this video is really only there to give you how to get set up and what it looks like. Really make sure you read the information for the items you need to complete, okay? So like I said, I've already updated the one for next week to have the correct title. So next week you'll do the HTML document standards. I have updated the print screens, right? So FYI on that one. The other thing I want to talk about, since we just finished our first our first My IT lab, I noticed a couple people run into challenges. So this is what I really want you to get, is that if you're working through these items, and I'm just looking at the item here in Canvas, and I'm going to go ahead and go into it in My IT lab. If you're working through these items and you feel like, darn it, that is not working the way it should, I want to tell you the process I want you to use, okay? So if you run into something that you feel doesn't work, go ahead and move to the next one. And actually it will only give you, I think, 5 attempts before it moves you to the next one anyway. And, the training, and I noticed there's a percentage of folks that aren't doing the training, and of course that's your choice, but I do notice there's an effect on their score, like actually even mine. I hadn't looked at this probably since last semester, and so I went through and did the training just to see, or the exam, and so what I would do in this case is go back and do the training and then look at the exam again, because you can do them unlimited. Now, here's the part I want you to know. If you're doing an exam and you feel like you're doing the steps right, but it's getting you wrong, right? Here's what you can do is, once you've completed, as a matter of fact, this is the same process you use to report. You do view submissions. And when you do view submissions, you click on the one that you, the highest one here, of course. And what this will show you is, and you're used to coming in here because you're normally doing a print screen. But here's what I want you to know, is each one has a unique number. So when I get to the next stage, which is you reporting to me, you're going to want to tell me which number it is. And then each one also gives you a breakdown of exactly how to do that item. So if you felt like it wasn't working and you came in here and looked at the step-by-step, right, then you can just do another attempt and go directly to that one that you felt like wasn't working, right? And I'd be willing to work with you in that case, and you could even submit it again telling me, okay, this is the one I got wrong. I went to the item that I got wrong after I reviewed the step-by-step, and I realized I was missing a step, because 95% of the time this is what the issue is that students are just missing a step. Now, there's a lot of content here, but partly there's a lot of content here because it's a very skinny column. So one thing you can do is copy and paste this. Now again, you get this once you do your first submission. So if you're reporting to me, right, and that's what you would do. So if you feel like one of your items was not working correctly, you would tell me the number, okay? And then, but before you do that, make sure you come in here and look at the step-by-step. And if you tell me, I looked at the step-by-step, I went and tried it again, it is indeed not, to my understanding, working, then I will go review it, okay? So the steps you take is you attempt it. If you feel like it's wrong, you come in and look at view submissions, you get the number, you then look at the step-by-step, you do another attempt, and you attempt only the one that you feel like was an error. And if you followed that step-by-step and it still doesn't, then you can report it to me. Email me in Canvas telling me which one it was, and then I will do it on my computer. And if I can do it on my system, now I have both Windows and Mac, I will try it on both. And if I can do it there, then we know it's something on your side and we have to figure that out. And sometimes it may mean you having to go to my IT lab support, but these are the steps. Now, if you're following the steps and it doesn't working, there's another, and I've mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. There's a plugin for Chrome, and you should be using Chrome, but there is a plugin for Chrome called Grammarly. I had this happen just this week. Is a student came into the lab and he was like, 2 of these things weren't working, and I'm like, do you have Grammarly installed? And he had brought his laptop, and we looked and we're like, yep, it's installed. And he uninstalled it, and sure enough, those 2 items that weren't working started working again. So if you're having issues, that's the first thing to check, right? Is to make sure that you have Grammarly disabled, and you can do that up in your hamburger. You can go to tools and you can go to extensions, okay? And under extensions, you can scroll through here to find it. And for me, here it is. I have it disabled, and that's how you know that's a slider, and you just slide it over. And I could just go ahead and remove it, which I probably should, even though I liked it. And you can remove it temporarily. That's what you can do. But that's the process. So the steps, and this is what I want on your reply. Attempt it. If you feel like there's one that was an error, or there's one that you just couldn't get right, look at the step-by-step. After the step-by-step, attempt only that specific one. And you might wonder, well, how can I do that? Well, let me just complete and then we'll come back. Attempt that one again. If you got it, then resubmit to me that you figured out, and I'll give you the point back for me, because you can submit on Canvas more than once, right? So you could do that. But if you wanted to, you could also, and this will probably come up larger than the screen, so I'll just have to pull it back, but I want to show you this, is that when you're in the My IT Lab simulation, okay, and by the way, this is good to know also, is because your connection speed can also affect this. So when you do view all, you actually get those numbers I was referring to earlier. So you can actually go into one specifically that you wanted to look at, or to retry, right? So you can just retry that specific one once you've looked at the step-by-step, because the chances are it's probably not the software, it's probably something with your computer, okay? Sorry. It's something between you and the keyboard, meaning it's probably just a step you missed, because it is very, and hopefully you've heard me say this, a very opinionated. It likes you to do it the way it shows you, or at least the ways it lays out here under view submissions. The thing I will say here too, and if it was me and I was a student doing this, I would actually copy, right, all of this content, and there's a lot of it, into a Word document, and then I would have it like maybe under Google Docs, and it would just make my life so much easier, okay? And that way I wouldn't have to try to look through here, I could easily find it. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to chat about. So we're on Friday. I actually got this recorded on the Friday before we go into our first holiday, right? So if you haven't caught this yet, sorry, not on grades, that's not what I wanted to look at, but on calendar. So if you haven't noticed already, there is a holiday on, and I'll just move the calendar forward here, in September, Labor Day. So I've moved the chapter quiz and the next My IT Lab to Monday night. Now, you can do them, obviously they've already been released, you can check those out. And I already have week 4 classwork and week 4 hands-on ready. And I hope by the end of this weekend, I'm just waiting for something about classwork. I may release everything but classwork for the week after, because holidays are sometimes a great time to get caught up, sometimes it's a great chance to get to work ahead. So that's a really helpful thing to do depending on your schedule. So I really had a good time reading your replies to your reflections about classwork this week. It was great because I think most of you realized you had grit, and you do. The chances are, if you're going to school, you have grit, right? You are trying to better your life, and part of that is just being willing, right? Just having that fortitude inside of yourself just to keep going. And that's what I really want to say, is if you've gotten behind even though we're in week 3, right? Because we've already had several items due. Get caught up as soon as possible. You know, go see the tutors, right? We have a tutor here. You know, if you submit late work and you've done the trainings, look at this video so that you know how to do that. You know, jump on class chat so you can ask questions if I happen to not be around. So, that seems like enough. I hope you have a great holiday weekend, and then I will be back with you next week, and I hope you enjoy. See you later.